The 2023 offseason is upon us, and the Giants have a ton of unrestricted free agents. Coming up, we're going to go through all the important defensive players and how the Giants can close that gap through personnel. Stay tuned. What's up, Giants fans? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Tommy's Takes. I'm your host, Tommy G. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate that. Please like, subscribe, turn those notifications on. Check out my Giants country team cooking up some of the hottest Giants content, even in the offseason. And the offseason is where we're at. Free agency right around the corner. Time to take care of some in-house business first. We're going to go stay or nay. We're going to go through each player, defensive, unrestricted free agent. I'm going to give some stays, going to give some nays, and I'll give you my opinion at the end. Overall, Giants defense finished 18th. They were, you can classify them as a bend but don't break unit, but one of the NFL's worst against the run. Also dead last in interceptions, tied for dead last. And ultimately, defense was a huge reason the season ended in Philly. The Giants gave up nearly 600 yards rushing to the Eagles in the two games the starters played in, and that's not going to cut it. That's really just a ridiculous number, and something desperately needs to be done. Well, welcome to the 2023 offseason. Giants have 7 unrestricted free agents. Today we'll go through who they should bring back and who they should say goodbye to. And first up, we're going to go with the biggest one, Julian Love. Now, this is a tough one. Love has been a solid player, good leader on and off the field for the Giants since he was drafted in the 2019 draft in the 4th round out of Notre Dame. It's no secret that versatility is Julian's strength. You could put him as an over-the-top safety. That's his main role. He could also come down in the box and play downhill, play a little bit of corner, both inside and on the slot. Really does it all on the defensive side. You don't see that type of versatility often with a safety, and that could make him very enticing to opposing defensive coordinators because his own defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale, full bloom love with Julian Love. And here's no pun intended, here's a comment from Wink Martindale. I mean, he's a guy you can move around. He's fun to watch because the number one thing is how football smart he is. He understands the little things, and that's a valuable piece when you're trying to put a defense together. So be careful with the opposing defensive coordinators getting their hands on Love. That's something the Giants got to look out for. I think Love has a much higher chance coming back if Wink comes back, if he doesn't take one of these head coaching positions. But listen, Love has been productive. Giants' best tackler by far on a team that did not tackle well. Led the Giants with 124 tackles last season, an 80.1 PFF tackling grade, 2 interceptions, led the Giants, even though that's a very, very low number. And, last but not least, he's a great leader. No issues. Teammates speak very highly of him. And one of the strengths of 2022 New York Giants was the chemistry, was how tight-knit that group was. And they had that nobody believed in us team. And Love was a big part of that. He really was. And ultimately, he was a big part in leading them to their first playoff victory in a decade. So a lot of good with Julian Love. Like I said, he's productive. He's a good leader, good teammate. He's been around since he's been drafted. Drafted by the Giants, so he's super in-house. He's gotten better every season that's won along, fits well in Wink Martindale's defense. He's that chess piece you can move around. Those are the stays. Now we'll go to the nays. So, like many of his free agents we're going to discuss tonight, money plays a huge factor. And you know what? Giants are 3rd in cap room, 3rd or 4th now, depending how you look at it. Still not a lot. You got your quarterback, free agent, basically. You got your running back, and we'll get to them in a later episode. We're going to save the big 2 stay or nay for last. Not as much money as you think, especially when you have 7 defensive, unrestricted free agents. So money's going to be big. And on the open market, Love could fetch $9 million, $10 million. Sports Track has him at around $8 million now. But if a team gets desperate, if they got a new defensive coordinator and they struggled defensively last season, they're going to want that chess piece. That chess piece is going to be critical, and Love could play that role. So that might be a little bit steep for the Giants, especially with safety Xavier McKinney. He's going to be looking at a new deal down the line. Not really going to pay 2 safeties heavyweight money, especially on a defense that still has interior D-line issues, linebacker issues. Who knows what's going to go on at corner. So financially, it's going to be tough unless he comes back on a free agent deal. Giants also drafted Dane Belton, fourth round last year. He got some significant snaps as a rookie. And the other conundrum, and to me, this is probably one of the bigger ones, is, Love is your traditional jack of all trades, master of none, right? So he could do everything pretty good, but it's not going to really get a lot of turnovers. It's not going to really get the splashy play that you expect from a $10 million a year safety. Love has struggled tracking passes, intercepting passes. It's not the most physical force when it comes to tackling, though he is a good tackler. So there are some drawbacks there with Love. My walkaway number for Love is $8 million, and that's even a stretch to go to $8 million. I think he'll fetch a little more on the open market. Giants should focus on, extending McKinney when they get the chance. Give Dane Belton some extra snaps, let him start getting his role defined. And, I would walk away from Love. Anything between 7.5, 8 million, I'm walking away because there's too much to be done on this defense. Like I said, you have the interior line that struggled basically the whole season. You have no linebackers on this team, essentially. I would move away from him. And it hurts to say because Love has been a great captain, great leader on this team, productive, does everything you want a leader and a captain to do. But it comes down to money. You can't keep everybody. So I would nay on Julian Love unless he's willing to take around 7.5 million. Then maybe you could see. So make sure also you drop in the comments. Stay, nay for each one of these players. I want to hear what you have to say. Your voice is important to me, as always, whether it's the offseason, during the season. I want to hear what the Giants fans have to say. All right. Next player, Jihad Ward. This is another interesting one. Ward, big voice, big personality for the Giants last season. Again, we're going to talk about that chemistry that this Giants team developed last year. He was a huge part of that. He almost played that Sterling Shepard role for the defense, right? When Shepard got hurt, the cheerleader role, be it a little bit differently. Ward is a little bit more of a serious guy, but definitely a fiery competitor on and off the field, loved by his teammates, played in every game this season, started in 11. And this is interesting. Statistically, it was Ward's best season in his 8 years as a pro. 23 pressures, 10 QB hits, 2 forced fumbles, 43 tackles. I mean, really hard to fault for the money that he made last season. Really did an excellent job. He brings a physicality at the point of attack against the run. Seen that a bunch of times last year with Jihad Ward. Has a great relationship with defensive coordinator Wink Martindale. You know that. I mean, these guys are basically inseparable during the season. And Ward provided that veteran leadership for younger edge rushers. Kayvon Thibodeau, Azeez Ojulari, both spoke glowingly of Ward's presence in the locker room, especially with them last season. Those are all important things. When you look at a free agent, yes, money is critically important, but you also look at their leadership on and off the field, their impact on the team, right? But eventually you do have to put a dollar amount, and you do have to say to yourself, can I replace that production at a better value? And that's the question that's going to be made. And this comes down to the nay. That was the stay for Jihad Ward. Now here's the nay. Listen, a lot of tough decisions to be made. When you factor in cap space, replacing veterans for cheaper options, the truth is Ward's production can be replaced. His on-field production doesn't provide a consistent pass rush, doesn't have the speed or quickness that modern edge rushers have, unfortunately. He's no longer a young pup. He's going to be 29 years old when the season starts. And he could arguably ask for a raise. He was making 1.7 last year. He could come to the Giants and say, hey, I top career highs. I played in almost every game. I started 11 games. I want such and such, which will make this negotiation even more difficult. That's a big nay, because when a player beats his career highs, that's usually what they're going to do. They're going to get together with their agent and say, hey, this is what I did last season, the season before. This is what they paid me. I deserve this. So a big nay, not just his on the field production, but I think he'll probably ask for more money. I don't think he'll go for a team friendly. It's not a guy that's made a lot of money in his career. That's something I would look at. Overall, I'm going to go nay. I think the Giants move on from Ward, especially if he seeks any type of pay bump. And while he does provide that tremendous leadership, you probably can replace his on-field production, cheaper option in free agency, rookie in the draft. If he's willing to work with the team financially, I'll bring him back, because that's what I think he means to this defense, and to Wink, and to Kayvon Thibodeau, Azeez Ojulari. If he goes, Ward, you're going to have to find someone to replace him anyways. You can't depend on Azeez. He's not able to stay on the field. Thibodeau had some injuries last year as well. So I'm going to go nay overall with a little bit of a hope in there that he'll sign a team friendly. So let's stay on edge rusher. O'Shane Ximines. This one's a little bit easier. Giants had high hopes for Ximines. Came out of the third round at Old Dominion. Fortunately, he's never really lived up to that hype. He had a solid start to the 2022 season. A lot of people thought he was finally coming around. I know I thought he was coming around, but never really materialized. His production basically disappeared after week 5. And those are all nays. When there wasn't a lot of stays with Ximines. The only stay I could really think about with Ximines was he has the ideal body type. He's 6'4", 254, can be effective against the pass rush. His rookie year, 4.5 sacks and just 45% of the snaps. But to me, this is nay all the way. Change of scenery might be best for him and the Giants. Failed potential under three defensive coordinators now. And it's more likely the Giants move on, someone younger, cheaper. I wouldn't bother with Ximines. I think it's time to end the Ximines experiment personally. Obviously what you do with Ward impacts. You don't want to ruin your depth too much, especially with the Aziz injuries. And I don't know if the Giants are going to go out and sign a free agent edge rusher. Seems unlikely. We'll get to that later in the offseason. I posted about that on Twitter last night. I'm going to go nay all the way with Ximines. I think he's played his last game as a Giant, and I think rightfully so. Just has never been able to hit that ceiling the team set for him. And even after a good start to this season, just didn't go well. So big nay on Ximines. Okay, Fabian Moreau. Played well last year when Aaron Robinson went down. As a matter of fact, I remember, I want to say it was about 9-10 games in, PFF came out with their ranking of top 10 cornerbacks, and Fabian Moreau was right in the middle, and it was mind-blowing. Unfortunately, that wouldn't be the only injury, Aaron Robinson, for the Giants secondary to suffer. Adoree Jackson would go out. Moreau thrust into the spotlight of playing number one receivers, totally exploited. Can't really blame him. Not his fault. That's not who he is as a corner, but it was difficult to see. I'm going to probably go nay, honestly, with Moreau because he could be replaced younger, cheaper. I think the Giants need to go younger and cheaper across the board with a lot of these unrestricted free agents. And I would say one stay is, again, he knows Wink's system. Moreau knows it like the back of his hand. You might be able to re-sign him for around $1.5 million, $2 million, veteran experience. But again, you got to understand if it's going to be something that's a value. If you could replace that production cheaper, you're really going to have to move the chess pieces around this offseason, especially when you have your quarterback and running back both up for deals. So nay, not a lot there as far as production. Stay experienced. Wink system might be able to get him back for cheap. I'm going to say no really big negative to re-signing Moreau. Unless, the team might want to go younger. Moreau will be 29 when the season starts. Positivity-wise, he brings some depth, brings some experience to that system. So I'm actually split on this one. I would say Moreau might come back as quality, experience, depth, unless the team comes and offers him more than the Giants are willing to pay. So that was a little bit of a tough one. He did do a solid job last year. All right, these two I combined, Justin Ellis and Nick Williams. I'm a huge proponent of totally rebuilding that interior defensive line outside of Dexter Lawrence and even Leonard Williams. I'm a little half and half on if he's willing to take a pay cut. We'll get to that in a different episode. Giants had one of the worst run defenses in all of football. A lot of yards came up that middle, and a lot were against the linebackers who unfortunately were not kept clean by the interior defensive line. Nick Williams is the better of the two. If you want to bring one back, it would be him. He did perform better, but also had a short season. Suffered a season-ending bicep injury in late October. Ellis was the weakest of the bunch. Consistently struggles to get off blocks, not reading his keys, picking the wrong holes. Infamously got stiff-armed in a divisional playoff game by Jason Kelsey, which was not a good look. I'm going to say nay on Ellis, and I'll say stay on Williams. I think they might give Williams another shot because you need the depth regardless, and that interior defensive line needs some fixing up, and it might have to come through free agency as well. So I'll go, like I said, nay Ellis, stay on Williams, or maybe a meh on Williams. All right, last up, Tony Jefferson. This is a good one. Played well last season in limited role, just under 200 snaps. He's another toss-up, experienced veteran, knows Wink Martindale's system. Again, Wink is going up for these head coaching interviews. A lot is contingent upon him coming back. A couple of these players are his guys and guys that he brought here. So if Wink doesn't come back, I don't know if some of these guys come back. I really don't. And some of them are just reserve depth players anyways. That's why this offseason is going to be key. This is the offseason for Joe Schoen. Last offseason, throw it out of the window. There was no cap space, no flexibility. They had 2 top 7 picks, which is a rarity. That's a unicorn in the NFL. Throw all that out the window. This is the first real offseason for Joe Schoen. A lot of tough decisions. Today we went stay, nay on the defensive unrestricted free agents. We're going to go through everybody. Next episode, we're going to go through wide receivers. Giants got Slayton, James, and Sterling Shepard as unrestricted free agents. That's it for today's show. Drop those stay, nay in the comments. Like, subscribe. Please do check out the Giants Country team. Hottest content out there. Thank you, everybody. Peace.